On this episode of Simply, we'll visit the historic Rose Island Lighthouse. It's time to horse around in North Kingstown. Then it's the dog days of summer down in Newport. Then we're mixing up your new favorite summer drink with our friends at Wines and More. All before Chef Nick does it again. Simply New England is presented by Cranston's Wines and More and Star. Work where you love. Hey everybody, I'm your host Becky Gibble, and this is Simply New England. However, today's show might look a little bit different to you because I'm coming to you remotely from historic Jackson Square in New Orleans. That's right, those sounds you hear are the sweet, dulcet drumming tones of live music in the French Quarter. I'm here working for the month on a new musical about Tennessee Williams and his sister Rose, so we thought that it would be fun to do a bit of a mashup between Simply New England and, let's call it, Simply New Orleans. Stick around, it's gonna be a great show. Hey folks, welcome back. I'm standing here on the banks of the mighty Mississippi River, and I got to thinking, New England and New Orleans both have so much rich history along their waterfronts. So I thought I would go explore New Orleans history aboard this here steamship, while you all go check out the historic Rose Island Lighthouse. See you back in a few.
Hi, I'm Sean O'Connor, and here we are on Rose Island in Newport. Rose Island is an 18-acre island here in the Narragansett Bay. It's the home of the Rose Island Lighthouse. It's also the home of so many interesting layers of history and important wildlife habitat as well. And it's a really magical place. This land was formerly used by Narragansett peoples and was called Conneconnequet. And then at some point, once the colonists were here and the early Americans, it was given the name Rose Island. We actually don't know with 100% certainty how it got that name. And then the lighthouse was built in 1869 as a really important navigational aid for all the shipping traffic coming up through Narragansett Bay. So for 101 years, there were lighthouse keepers here running the island, and they shared the island with the military that was also here as part of Fort Hamilton, as well as the Naval Torpedo Station that was really active in World Wars I and II here in the Newport area. This piece of land that we're on here, that the lighthouse sits on, it's actually public land owned by the city of Newport that our organization has managed for almost 40 years now. We're called the Rose Island Lighthouse and Fort Hamilton Trust. It's our organization that was responsible for restoring the lighthouse. In the 80s, it was in total disrepair after it was decommissioned in 1971. We restored the lighthouse, we relit the light, and now, a few decades later, we manage the island. We play host to educational programs and school field trips, to overnight visitors to our retreat house. And then the bird refuge is owned by our organization, but it's permanently barred from development. So it will always be a wildlife refuge. And it's also really important coastal habitat for birds and for other species, especially as seawater start to rise over the decades ahead. At least here on Rose Island, there'll be an area where some of those coastal wetlands can migrate inwards, which I think is really important. I'm really honored to be stewarding the legacy of this amazing place. To get to Rose Island, we have our own boat called Rose. It's an 18-passenger boat, so we take our overnight guests out on Rose from Fort Adams, which is just to our south here. And then daily visitors can actually come on the Jamestown Newport ferry as well. It's a hop-on, hop-off ferry. Within the lighthouse, the first floor is a museum. It's open from 10 to 4 daily in season, so Visitors can come and learn about lighthouse keepers and the history of the lighthouse. When you go into the museum, you really take a step back in time. It's really set up like it would have been for a lighthouse keeper around the turn of last century. And then there are also overnight guests that stay in the lighthouse on the first floor, which we call our museum floor, as well as the second floor, the keeper's apartments. Visitors can climb up to the tower of the lighthouse. There's no better view of Newport Harbor and Narragansett Bay than you get from the top of the lighthouse tower. And the light still shines every night as well. When you come out here, you really get to take a step back in time, and when the last boat leaves at 4 o'clock, if you're staying overnight, there's no place like it. There's such a peaceful retreat to just take in the sights and sounds of Narragansett Bay, away from cars, away from the hustle and bustle of just modern life. We don't have Wi-Fi out here, so you really get to unplug and disconnect. When you drive over the Pell Bridge, you see this island. You know, look to your south and you see Rose Island. I'm sure if anyone's driven over the Pell Bridge, they've probably noticed it, maybe didn't think too much about it. And it's just such a gem here in the Narragansett Bay that I hope more people will come discover. I just love that people can come out here and, you know, bring a picnic for the day, sit on the beach. They can sit up here in the Adirondack chairs by the lighthouse. And I think it's one of the greatest lesser known day excursions that's in Rhode Island, is coming out on the Jamestown Newport Ferry to Rose Island for the day.
Hey folks, I'm here in New Orleans' iconic French Quarter, where they celebrate Pride all year long. Next up, let's connect with a community closer to home, Newport Pride, who celebrated their ribbon-cutting ceremony for their new Events and Community Center space earlier this month. Let's check it out.
My name is Reggie Onorati, and we were at the Newport Pride Center on 42 Spring Street, Newport, Rhode Island.
So tonight we're celebrating the opening of the new Pride Center. It's a community center specifically geared to LGBT communities. So we're gonna have a lot of free programs and events happening at this space.
It's for the community of Newport. We have a few ideas and some programs set into motion right now, but it's really up to the community on what they want the Pride Center to be. So we have some interactive suggestion boards happening that we'll take seriously and incorporate it into our programming.
We're working to build and support the local LGBT community, and our vision is Newport where all residents feel welcome to be who they are. It's not just about your sexual orientation or your gender identity, but like I say, we're all humans, we're all neighbors, so we just want a better community.
Pride Weekend is a weekend filled of LGBTQ events for the community of Newport and anyone else around.
We're having our Pride Fest. It includes fest with about 60 vendors, performers from around Rhode Island. And then we also have a bike parade, different than other towns. That's our signature. And we want to promote more biking in the city, as well as a welcoming community. I grew up in Colombia, and so my mission is to create a more vibrant and multicultural, diverse community. And it's not only for me, this mission of LGBT, but it's for anyone. For wherever you come from, whatever you look like, whatever language you speak, I want to be a welcoming city for everyone. I say I can't live with fear. I lived with fear when I was younger. I came out of that fear, and I'm able not to speak out and say this is who I am. And I felt that in Newport. When I first moved to Newport from Colombia, I met my husband in Colombia. We moved to Newport. I was following love. And this community just welcomed me so open, and I want to give back what I've received from this community.
Newport Pride is for the community. It's for people in Newport. We welcome everyone to come to the Pride Center Wednesday through Friday, 10 to 5 p.m. And we'd love to see anyone there. If you're LGBTQ or if you're an ally, we'd love to see you there.
Hey folks, welcome back. So I've traded the music and hubbub of the big city for the cicada and bird song of Manchac Swamp. I'm in a kayak, and I'm hoping to have a close encounter with an alligator. But first up, we head for a close encounter of another kind to Horseplay, a sanctuary and rescue in North Kingstown. Check it out.
Hi, my name's Deidre Sharp, and you're at Horseplay Equine Rescue and Sanctuary in Saunderstown, Rhode Island.
Horseplay is a rescue for abused, neglected, or unwanted horses.
I've always had a fondness for the underdog, as it were. Horses do not have happy endings 99% of the time. I mean, your typical backyard horse does not stand a chance at an auction, at a sale. So we decided to be an alternative, because what happens, a horse will go to auction and it goes to slaughter. So we thought, well, maybe we could help. And we've been doing it ever since, and we've saved over 400 horses. Everybody has their own place, and some of them come from really tragic stories, and some of them come from just a matter of logistics.
They all have different histories. Some of them were abused.
People who, for some reason or other, are unable to care for their horses. It might be an illness. It could be, monetary situation.
Some of them were former racehorses that maybe didn't do too well in the nature of the industry. They end up in an auction going to a meat truck, and Deidre stepped in and rescued them, and they're here. Every single horse has a different story to them, and they're so unique, but together they're like one big happy family now.
If a horse isn't adoptable for some reason, be it a medical problem or a behavioral problem or something, they can live here. We're not gonna, kick them out.
They used to do a lot back in the day, rehoming the horses. Pretty much now it's basically a sanctuary, retirement home for the horses that are here now.
It really shows you that horses are more than just riding. It's not just about riding the horses and getting them to do what you want. It's also about building a friendship and a bond with them.
I've been a volunteer here for around 12 years, and what could be better than this?
It's really amazing. I love connecting with fellow animal lovers and, of course, the animals themselves.
Started with a little voice in my head one summer telling me that I should do something with horses, which I totally said, no way, I do computers. I made one phone call, I came here the following week, and I haven't left in 9 years.
Here at Horseplay, we are committed to the quality of care. Our horses are seen regularly by a licensed veterinarian, but we do things a little differently. Our horses are kept in a very natural environment. We do not use horseshoes, and we do not use bits in their mouth. They're fed a very natural diet, predominantly hay, and then supplemented with vitamins as needed.
We believe that horses do not belong in a box, which unfortunately a lot of race horses and things often are kept in a stall for many hours of a day. Our horses are out in the pasture, and they have the most natural life they can have.
They become very happy, and a lot of horses that have behavioral problems show up here, and within 6 weeks all those problems are gone just because they got to be a horse. It works. They're happy.
Out and About is brought to you by Harbor One. Find your harbor at harborone.com. Boom. Jeez. Hey folks, so if you look over my shoulder right back there, you'll see my new friend, the alligator. That makes me miss my best furry friend, Henry Winkler. We had a great day taking in the dog-friendly sights of Newport. Check it out. Henry and I have a big day planned in a place that's truly dog-friendly, Newport, Rhode Island. Full of history, nautical charm, and plenty of dog-friendly activities, Newport's got it all for people and pooches alike. After your first session of zoomies on Easton's Beach, head to the Cliff Walk. Take in the sea air with 3.5 miles of breathtaking views in every direction. If cliffs aren't your thing, we love the Newport Harbor Walk. a scenic stroll along Newport's waterfront that you and your dog are sure to enjoy. Don't forget your quarters for the viewfinders. Newport's full of outdoor dining options, and many are dog-friendly. From the freshest seafood to the oldest tavern in the United States, there are a ton of options. We like the patio and the eclectic American menu at Tavern on Broadway in Newport's historic district. Henry's a big fan of the barbecue chicken pizza. Now that we've got our energy back, let's hit the street. You can never go wrong with a stroll down Bowen's Wharf. Quaint shops, historic landmarks, and dog friends, both real and imagined. Be sure to stop at Henry's favorite spot, Port of Paws on Thames. We love to wrap up the day at Brenton Point State Park. After a sudden follow-up case of the zoomies, grab a bench and take in the sea breeze as you wait for the sunset. There are so many ways to enjoy a day with your favorite four-legged friend. So next time you're headed to Newport, remember to grab the leash and bring them along. They'll be glad you did. Hey folks, can you hear me? No? Can you hear me now? Let's take a break. We'll be right back. Welcome back, folks. Whew. All of this paddling and fleeing from murderous reptiles really worked up my appetite. Let's go check out what Nick is cooking up. Hopefully, there will also be a cocktail from Wines and More.
Here we go again, gang, and I'd like to start out today with a fun Nick Raymar fact. I'm a sushi nut. Yep, it's true, guilty as charged in one way, shape, or form. It's part of my diet almost weekly. Another thing you might not know about me is I've also run some of the best sushi restaurants in all of New England. So today, I'd like to do a really fun play on it, and that's the sushi bake. Come on, let's get to work. There are people that spend their whole life trying to master the art of sushi. However, this dish can be made by anyone, anywhere, with just a few ingredients. So let's get started. We've got a 9x9 relatively non-stick pan that I am gonna go ahead and spread some of the sushi rice on. After I cooked it, I blended it with a little bit of rice vinegar. And we're gonna go right into the pan here. Obviously, another critical ingredient is fish. Today, we're gonna be using salmon and shrimp. So let's start by giving this a nice, large dice. Making sure that all the skin is off, all the tails. So give that a nice, equal-sized dice. Let's go ahead and get them into the bowl. Put those aside. Now I've got these stunning fresh salmon fillets. We're gonna wanna cut them about the same size as the shrimp. That way everything cooks approximately the same amount of time. Salmon is a usual suspect in the sushi world. Once that fish is nice and chopped, we're gonna go in with a little bit of sesame oil. Love sesame oil, and you don't need to put too much because the salmon itself is quite fatty. And of course, season with a little bit of salt, not too much. Mix that up, spread that oil, that salt around, and let's go ahead and top that rice. You take that fish and you put it right on top of that perfect rice, and you spread it out nice and evenly. And we're gonna pop it in a 450-degree oven for about 20 minutes. The fish is fully cooked, the rice starts to get a little crispy on the edges. Now we need some sauces. First, I'm gonna pop on a little bit of spicy mayo. Once we top it with the spicy mayo, I'm gonna hit it with a little teriyaki sauce. Of course, soy sauce, very common with sushi. Now, how about we hit it with a little spice? We've got sriracha. Dress that up beautifully. Lovely colors, lovely flavors. You gotta have a little fresh somewhere in here. So I'm gonna go on with some chopped scallion. And how about a little bit of sesame seed? So you're probably asking yourself, where's the seaweed? Well, I happen to have it right here. These are little teriyaki seaweed crisps. You can find them at almost any grocery store. And what you do is you take your crisp and you scoop some of that out. That's a wrap here, gang. Till we meet again, you keep on cooking. I'm gonna keep on eating. Set it up again.
Hi, I'm TJ, Spirits Director for Wines & More, and here is today's cocktail recipe. We are going to make the Hemingway Daiquiri with some Tropic Isle Palm white rum. You're going to use 2 ounces. You generally want to try to use a jigger to get your measurements as accurate as possible. Then we're going to do a 1/2 ounce of a maraschino liqueur, 1/2 ounce of fresh lime juice, and 1.5 ounces of grapefruit juice. Then put your top pint glass on your shaker, give it a little pop. Always have it sideways, you'll have less spill right there. Shake for 10 or 15 seconds, just to make sure everything's combined. Give a pop to the side, and you're going to strain into a chilled coupe and garnish with a lime wheel. And that is the Hemingway Daiquiri. Thank you for joining us, and you can find all of the ingredients as well as our Cheers Direct line at all of our locations.
Hey folks, well, after a day this full of fun, food, and adventure, there's only one way to wrap it up right. So, as they say in New Orleans, let the good times roll. We'll see you next time. Simply New England is presented by Cranston's Wines & More and Star. Work where you love.